Well, I just did something that I know some of you have probably done too. Um, this is not the same one that I was working on just a minute ago. I did the rest of it and I forgot to hit the record button. And so now I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to record the part that got missed on the other one. So I'm recording now. And so I just took this off the bat. This was my little bat. And I'm going to determine what angle I want the thing to sit at and mash down just a little bit to flatten out a place on the bottom. And once I get just a little bit of flat there, then I'm going to paddle it there, there we go. So that's how it's going to sit, but we're going to put feet and everything on it to also stabilize it. So the next thing I do is the feet. Whoops. So I have a little bit of clay over here. So I do feet, eyes, ear, the hole that the money goes in, and then the tail generally. Sometimes I do the tail before I do the money hole, and usually I'm sorry about that because I knocked the little tail off when I'm trying to do the other part. So let's see if we still have you. Yeah. Okay, I put this is a piece of concrete board, hardy backer board, and it's kind of impervious to water, and it makes a good board for kneading your clay on or wedging your clay or rolling out little snakes or worms or whatever you want to call this. Okay, so that's about the right size for the feet. Now it doesn't have to be real smooth because you're going to wad it up anyway. So I'll cut the end of it off just to get to an even spot. And so I need 2 back feet about the same size, and I need 2 front feet about the same size. And then I'm going to need some ears and stuff. So for the moment, I'm going to wad this up and put it back in the plastic so it doesn't dry out by the time I get that done. So I just have a little piece of something here. Okay, so I'll put that over here. So we take these little feet, wad them up into little balls to put on there. So I lay them out, or set them out, whoops, in a row so that I can tell if I got them close to the same size. They don't have to be exact, but somewhere close, so you don't have a pig that looks like it's walking on 3 legs. That's a little bigger, so I'm going to take a pinch away from that. There, that's a little closer. All right, so now we're going to turn the little guy over and decide we're going to put the feet at the bottom right here where the flat part starts, and then put the front feet up here. So to get them to stick, because this sat out overnight, it isn't real hard yet, but it was kind of wet when I threw it last night. So I'm going to scratch the places where I'm going to put the feet and sort of eyeball it so that I can get them kind of evenly placed. So I've got that. Then I better set it that way. Then I'm going to scratch one of the surfaces on each one of the little feet. So that's all ready. Now I put I've got a big old brush, kind of a paintbrush ready and I put this in my water bucket and I dig around on the bottom of that to bring some of that slip up, and I just leave it right there to use on this. Let's see if I can get you back in place. There we go. Okay. So I take, let's see, we're going to put the back feet on first. So I'm going to dip it in some slip. Whoops, I forgot to slip that. I'm going to put a little bit of slip on each spot. That helps it stick. It's kind of like glue. Okay. So then, which one did I have? This one. I'm going to stick it in some, just put a little bit of slip there. Let's see, these are the back feet. I make the back feet slightly smaller because they're going to be closer to the ground, like as if the pig were sitting or something like that. So I mash it a little bit at an angle, and all that slip kind of get it nice and level with each other. All that slip around the edge is going to help in a minute. I'll show you what I do with that. That sort of helps to get it stuck and smooth looking so that it doesn't crack and come off. So now I've just got them sort of placed. They're not stuck real good yet, but I'm going to stick them in a minute here and you'll see how I do that. So I've got them all in the right place, I think. That slip helps too because you can kind of slide them if they're not in the right place. So I'm going to gently set it down. Let's see. And then I kind of mash it down to the floor, down, just straight down, just very gently because you don't want to misshape the body of it. And then pick it up and make sure everything looks good still. And then take your brush. This brush just about had it. I think I'll take this other brush. This is a flat brush, but it'll do the same. So I'm just going to go around the feet and get rid of any blobs of slip and make sure that it makes contact all the way around. So then you can clean up the rest of it with a sponge, just tidy it up a little bit. Like that. And then set it back down. Now, check for the angle that you want the pig to be sitting at. See, his little belly is kind of on the floor, but he just wants to sit down, especially if somebody's putting some money in there. He wants to be still for that. Okay. So also look at your pig from the nose and then look at the feet and make sure they're kind of an equal distance from each other. or from the, that is kind of symmetric, you know. Okay. Whoop. Missed a spot there. Okay. Now we're gonna do the eyes, and let's see, I'll mark it and then kind of turn it around. So I'm looking straight at it so that I can estimate where the center top is, because that's what I'll use to gauge the eyes and the ears and that little slot where the money goes. So I'll just make a little mark right there, and then I have a little hole punching tool that is it's a piece of, I believe it's brass or copper, and it's cut at an angle so that I can just kind of jab it in there and then twist it and get the eyes. So I'm looking straight at the eyes, or straight where the eyes ought to be. I'm gonna make a little spot. Let me turn this around. So if you can see that, let's see if you can see that. So I made two little dots there where the eyes are gonna be. Maybe I can do this from this side. So you push this thing in and then just twist it as you're pushing. And then sometimes the little thing stays in there, the little plug, and sometimes it comes out, doesn't matter. It won't stick to the inside, so it's okay to just let it fall in there if it does. Okay, so there are the eyes. Then, let's see how even I got them. Not bad. So now I want to do the ears. And I've got the little, I have this kind of marked right where my index finger is there, where the money slot will go. But I want to put the ears on before I do that. So that leftover clay is what I'm going to use for ears and tail. So I'm going to get it all stuck together first and then roll out another snake. Stick him right over here so I'll have room to now the purpose of just making it look like a snake right at the beginning is just so I can gauge how much clay I need, because I need, you know, they need to be the same size. So about like that. This one may be a little bit bigger than that one. Okay, we'll put our leftover clay back in the plastic to keep it nice and moist until we're ready to do the tail, because that's the next thing that we're going to add on to it. So this method of building something with clay is called an additive technique or type of three-dimensional stuff. Like when you sculpt something and you have a big block of clay and you take tools and you take away everything that doesn't look like whatever it is you're sculpting. So that's called a subtractive method of sculpting. This is an additive. Throwing the pot is possibly, let's see, that's a little too big, is possibly, I don't know if that's, I think that might be subtractive, but then once we have the little pot to make him out of, there, those are closer. then that becomes additive. So I'm not sure what throwing would be, because you do take away a little bit of play. In some cases you then add stuff later. Okay, so I'm gonna get the palm of my hand real wet, or just, with a sponge. Take my thumb and I'm mashing that little ball of clay and getting it so it's kind of thin at the top, and then whatever you want to do to make it look like an ear. So this is not really, it's not stamped out. Every one of the ears on my pigs looks different. So the wider part, I tend to make that go to the bottom and then sort of bend it like that. A pig's ear looks, they're large actually for the scale of, except for German Shepherds, I think I would say they're bigger than dogs' ears. The German Shepherds have huge ears, and pigs do too. The pigs generally go in the same direction as the body, but we're not hung up on realism right here. We're just doing some fun stuff with these little Pyggy-Banks. So then I take the bottom part of that and bend it backwards just a little bit so that I'll have something to, stick to the body of it. I'll have something to work with right there. So I can just sort of estimate where that looks right. And I'll just stick it there gently for the moment. And then I'll do the other ear. Get my palm wet. Put that in there. And do the same thing with this. Sometimes your thumb needs to be wet too. Some pigs get in little fights and they get their ears torn. And so some of them have little ears that have little turn downs, and they're just, each one of them just seems to be different, especially when they're little babies. And they haven't, I don't know what's inside there that makes them stiff, but probably cartilage or something. I don't know. You'll have to ask your teacher what makes the pig's ears remain the shape that they are. Let's see. So we're going to kind of stretch. So I'm using this little money hole line to kind of gauge where my, so there's the rough, there it is in the rough. I'm looking at how tall these are and how evenly spaced they are. This one needs to come over here just a little bit, I think, and these are going to be a little bit different width. And so remember, it's hand building and it isn't realism. So we're not going to stick or get stuck on how real it looks. Just want it to represent. It's going to be suggestive of what it is. Okay, so once you get these kind of placed like that, turn it around again. Make sure I have them, and I need to remove them and scratch and attach. This is what I call scratch and attach, right where that was and right where this is. This process right here does a couple of things. Not only does it stick the ear to the body of the pig, but it makes it a lot easier to slide it around later if you think you have to move it a little bit to get it. So I've got both of them scratched and slipped. So now I'm gonna sort of get it where it needs to be. Whoops, that needs to be closer. See, I just slid it forward just a bit. Maybe they have big ears because they need to shade their eyes, because these ears sometimes remind me of baseball caps, like the bill part kind of hangs over their eyes and blocks the sunlight, possibly. I don't know. Nature has its way and reasons of doing these things. So let's put some slip on that side and some on this one. Now I'm going to have to face it towards me so I can see where I've got it. Okay, that's not too bad. So I'm going to just mash down a little bit right there. So the basic placement is pretty good. Let's check it from the back. This one wants to creep over that way. This one needs to creep over this way. Okay, so there we go. I've got the bend in the right place and all that. So now, what do you do with this back here? Take your thumb, get it kind of clean. You don't want it to be too dry, but you don't want it to be too wet either. So just brace the pig a little bit and mash down and then smooth off that clay. You're kind of smudging it. And you'll have to readjust the ears here in just a second because it kind of makes them want to lay down. All the time you're working on this, you have to be careful not to smash the body of the pig. It's so easy to do because you want to grab it and make sure it doesn't move. But it's just, you know, fine-tuning your grip on it. And you can clean it up more. I just rocked him backwards. He's a rocking pig. Okay, so that's kind of what he's going to look like. Okay, get his ear all adjusted. When he's a little more dry, don't worry about the rough edges on the pig's ears, because after it, it's not anywhere near the middle, so I'm going to have to operate on his ear. Now, if you'll notice, this ear is closer to the middle than the other one. I think it's that one. I'm just going to operate on it so he doesn't look weird. There. Now let's see. Because we don't want, it's kind of like having a part in your hair. You don't want the part to be, if you want the part in the middle, like, you know, it needs to be between your eyes, basically. So now we're going to do the tail. So, as you might have guessed, the tail needs a little long, kind of a snake looking thing, making a snake out of clay here. First I'm going to make a ball just to compress all the pieces of the clay I had there. And then I'll put it on here. And the tail needs to be skinny at one end and fat at the other end. Whoops. So first make your just the long roll here. Kind of smooth transition from the big end to the small end so that it looks kind of natural or finessed or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I've got, it's bigger up here than it is down here, but I'm going to cut the very end of it off because it's too much of the skinny part. Okay, then just gently make it come to a point. So then what you do is put it in your hand and you start twisting it, because you're going to use the big end of it for, just kind of use it as a handle as you're putting that on the pig. So just kind of coil it up kind of like you would if it was a snake. I got quite a bit of that skinny part on there. That's kind of harder. So what you have is that, and then this other part you're going to use to attach it with. So I'm going to set it down right there, turn our little guy around, and I'm going to scratch up where the tail is going to go. Scratch it a little bit because it has to be very well stuck on there. Then add some slip to that area so that I can slide it around if I need to. And then with the pig in one hand and this in the other hand, we're just going to lay that on there like that, and then tap it, make sure you've got it in the center or wherever you want it. It doesn't have to be in the center, but that's good. Okay, and then just take your thumb and mash that down, blend it into the back end of the pig there. And then take your hand and just kind of do like that to make sure that the tail is going to stay attached. And then if you need to, you can adjust the little coil a little bit. And I think it's kind of cute to have this part kind of sticking out a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to put, with a paintbrush and some slip, I'm going to just put some slip in between where the pig body is and where the coil is, so that it just has more glue to keep it attached. There we go. Just to smooth it out some. Okay, so that's basically it. Oh wait, we gotta do the money hole, don't we? I don't think I had that on the other video too that I didn't record. I did it to the pig, but I just didn't hit the record button. Isn't that frustrating? But it's okay, because I'm making a whole bunch of these guys. I'm needing a whole bunch of them. Okay, so I've marked it again, just reinforced that line that I had there. And now I'm going to take the hole puncher, the same one that I used for his eyes, and I'm going to do a hole, let's see. I'm going to put a hole right here and I've kind of eyeballed it to make sure it's between the eyes and the ears, so that's one end of the little hole. And then I'm going to go down here to the other end. Let's see. And put the other end of the hole right there. And then poke that inside there. Okay, now what do? Now we're going to cut in between there. We can find my little knife thingy. There it is. So then, first, don't try to cut all the way through on the first draw. Just make draw a line, and then follow that line on the next draw, and you'll get it straight. So let's see. And I'm not cutting through on this one either. I'm just going to score it until the knife goes through. I'm at a bad angle here. When you do this, you'll have the pig facing you, like this, unless you're doing it on camera. So it's kind of hard to do things on camera and get them exactly right. So that looks kind of rough. So I'm going to moisten the edges of it with my slip brush, and then I can I can even take the handle of this and kind of smooth out the sides. Take my fingers and sort of smooth it all out. And I can also take dampen this hole punch thing. There we go. Not bad, eh? So there's your little pig, and this one's going to market. Oh, another thing you can do is this is a cake decorating tool, but it's just got a round thing on the end of it. Take that and get it wet, but not drippy wet, but just kind of go around the eyes like that, and that sort of defines them a little bit and makes them stand out more, especially after the glaze. So I'm just twisting that in there like that. How's that look? Now he's got little more dimension to his eyes. So now you can sponge it off, straighten it out, fix any flaws that you find in it, and you're good to go. Okay? So thanks for watching. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of little pigs here in a minute, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye. Love you guys. Bye. 4 little piggies went to the market, and no little piggy stayed home. 3 little piggies had roast beef, and 1 had chicken. And here are a bunch of little piggies getting ready to go to the market.